Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It is 2026. I am back after a little bit of a time off for the Christmas holiday. Just the landing of all of the things. Wasn't sure if I was going to actually make it tonight, but I'm here. I am going to try to not do what I did last time and go 5 straight hours. Crossing fingers. We'll see. I'm a little tired. Yesterday was New Year's Eve. Stayed up well past midnight, so not running a full thing of sleep, but I am running on a full 2 liter of Mountain Dew. So that much is good. Okay, just a couple things, and then we'll dive into what we are working on first. Sorry, I just need to check, make sure all of my stuff is going through. Great, great, great. Since I think I got all my automation stuff figured out. So first and foremost, put myself over here. .NET Conf, we are hosting our own local one here in Spokane, Washington. If people are interested, I am one of the speakers at it. There are effectively 4 presentations going through on this. There's going to be some VS 2026 stuff with AI agents, advanced debugging, all of that stuff. I am going to be giving a talk on .NET Aspire, so if you want any spoilers, troll my GitHub commit history. That's your only hint. Throughout this holiday, I've been spending a decent chunk of time playing around with one of my templates for it, and that is going to be a big basis of what I'm going to be talking through. The talks are only about 25 minutes. No, is that right? 40 minutes each. You can tell how much time I've put into this. I've got like an hour and a half of material, and I'm trying to figure out how to condense it. And I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. We're still working on that detail, because every time I think I'm condensing, I end up adding to it, and that doesn't work well. Let's see, and then we've got some stuff on .NET, and then we even have a Microsoft person, Gareth Jones, who's one of the engineers on like the Graph team and Copilot integration stuff, going to be joining us to give a talk. So it's going to be great. If people are in person, there is a small fee because we're doing food and whatnot. For people who just want to watch online, great. It is a hybrid event. You can watch online for free. That part, if you just want to check it out, but it would be nice for people to sign up. Selfishly, it helps me. The more sign ups and people we have attending. So even if you just want to join the stream and lurk, that works great. Otherwise, we will see how it goes. Okay, so I need to apologize because I was only somewhat paying attention to stuff over the holiday. I actually did good. I tried to avoid working and doing other stuff. But this question came up on my Discord, and I answered it kind of briefly without giving it a ton of thought. And kind of laid out hey, this is difficult to do, but kind of here's how I would go through and do it. I think there was a reply back saying it's not working, can't get it quite to work, and I started thinking on it, and I realized it may actually be. I thought it was hard to begin with. It might actually be even harder than I thought. But this is what I wanted to take a quick run at just to see how it would go. So the basic premise here is you have a data grid, and you have a data grid set up with multi-selection. So you can select. I'm going to assume rows for this purpose, and then going through, you edit one cell in one of the rows, and through some magic, that same change gets applied to everything in that row. That, I think, is kind of the premise of how we're going to go through and do this. We could make it cell selection. I don't know if it makes that big of a difference. I suspect the problem is going to come with the idea that to get into edit mode, there are 2 key ways of interacting with the data grid inside of Windows, one of which is the F2 key. That one I think is probably fine. The one that I think is probably more problematic is the double click with the mouse, because the thing with double click is, by definition, there's 2 clicks. So the first click's going to register before it knows whether that second click is coming. And I believe that's going to also change selection. So the double click's more problematic because it also affects selection, whereas F2 just kind of drops you in. So that's what I think we're going to find, and that's what we're going to check out. I then also have, I found a really cool Avalonia library that I wanted to look at, because I think it's going to work great for the Enigma machine stuff. The the promise of the library looked awesome, and so I wanted to check it out. And it's somewhat new; only came out in the last couple months, and I was like, "Ooh, buddy, this looks promising." So, was gonna take a run at that and just see where it lands. So, we're gonna start here. We're gonna see where we get to. So, I've made a new directory, completely empty. .NET new. Selfishly gonna use my own template. Let's see. Oh, let's do this here real quick. Let's update the template, and then we're gonna thank you, RM star. Yeah, nuke it all, and then rerun. Okay, so I have local installs and remote installs going at the same time. Not a big deal. Okay, short version, we got a bunch of stuff. Okay, for anybody interested, I did a video, I think beginning of December. So if you're looking at this on YouTube, go back in history like 3 or 4 videos. And I did a walkthrough of a lot of my .NET templates and a lot of the things that I try to put in all of them. I've been adding quite a bit of additional stuff to it. I realized I actually broke my Dependabot because I added so many features to my template repository. The project files are no longer valid CS projects, and Dependabot expects them to be and has zero tolerance when they aren't, which was a little annoying. I've got some thoughts on how to fix it, but it's kind of annoying. Copilot, shut up. You're not going to help me here. And then change my startup project. Let's go ahead. Where's that startup project? There we go. Okay. So default WPF stuff, nothing overly fancy in here. Let's just hit compile real quick. And I think this version of the template is, I haven't pushed one out with a lot of the NuGet updates. Partly because I didn't realize how out of date some of my NuGet packages were, because I didn't realize Dependabot hadn't been running, because it's been triggering for some things. That's the problem. But for NuGet dependencies, it doesn't trigger if you have a CS proj that is not valid. And with a .NET new template, you can do fun conditional stuff, which I have done and broken it. So I need to fix that up. Or I may task Copilot fixing it up, because it's going to be kind of just annoying. Okay, so maybe we actually start in the view model. Let's give ourselves, let's see, public class. What are we going to do this? Let's just do person, all right? And we're going to do, and let's actually make this a partial class. We'll do an observable object, and then we're going to do observable property. This thing is this thing updated to with my net 10 stuff? Good. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be close to it. You need to be partial, and this should, trying to remember, why does it think it needs to be set to preview? I feel like I got bit by this the other day, and I don't understand why. Oh, I think I know exactly why. I think this is what I didn't realize before. It's my NuGet package versions. I bet you if we look here, I probably have updates that will fix this problem for me. Because I think some of the issue is the fact that I am running somewhat older packages. Well, that doesn't actually track, because, I mean, we're going to rev these real quick anyway. But I expected to see an update for the Community Toolkit package. That's not there. But if it gives me crap, we're just going to set it to preview and move on. But at some point, I may go through and check that. Okay. That should make it happy. And then we're going to duplicate this a handful of times, because we need a set of cells to edit. So let's do something like, I don't know, email. Let's do something like phone. Let's do something like address. Great. Okay, so that'll give us something to look at. And then we need an observable collection of these suckers. Observable collection person. We'll do people get. I gotta remember how to type, which it turns out no, don't. Copilot, be patient. You will get your turn. Shut up. You are not. It is not your turn yet. You will have your turn in a minute. Okay, and then let's see. We'll let Copilot have its way. Generate me 25 random person objects and store them in the people collection. Okay, you go do that, and I'm gonna go do this because I'm. Okay, so we're gonna come over here. We're gonna come in here, and we're gonna go with a data grid. Let's see. That is horrible. No. So first thing, auto-generate columns. Should we let it stay as true? I'm trying to think if I care to specify these. I think we can leave it as auto-generate true, actually. In general, I advocate for turning that off almost always because it is almost never what you want in a real app. But in this case, we might be able to get away with it. Okay, did you do your job, Copilot? Oh, you made them random. Great. Okay, that gets me to there, that gets me to there, that gets me to there. Let's launch. Oh, this is probably going to have a binding error on that. Get rid of that. There we go. Oh, and this is in the wrong grid. Let's see, grid row 1. There. Let's just recompile that sucker. I don't know what it's going to do. The hot reload when you're in the middle of a compile, like hot reload is already a little sketchy. You do it inside of the file. There you go. Thank you, Copilot. That's not bad. Okay, so here's where we need to start making some changes, right? So I've got a handful of these things here. So there's the multi-row selection, right? And now I do have, and this is where I kind of wonder if there is grabbing this, and let's do, okay, because the recommendations that I started with were you're going to have to do some code behind, like prepare for cell edit, I think is going to be a key event handler to handle. And then let's see, begin edit, and so I can't remember which of these exactly I recommended in the Discord channel. And then there's like end edit, row edit ending, cell edit ending, cell edit ending. We're just gonna start registering all these up. And then I kind of want to grab this as well because I don't know exactly which of these we're gonna end up needing. Okay, shut up. Yeah, I know you're unhappy. I just generated a bunch of code. I should have a bunch of event handlers here. Okay, so what I would like to see is where this lands. So you'll note, for anybody watching who seemed a little surprised that on a single click I'm going straight into edit, this is a behavior of some of the material design stuff that defaults to on, right? So there is a, if we go back here, let's see, data grid, I thought it was data grid. Oh, I don't have the material design namespace included in here yet. Let me grab the material design namespace and bring it into my main window. But there is an assist class, which is really just a naming scheme that we've adopted for the material design project. So it should be material design. No, stop it. Data grid assist. And then there is What is it called? Enable edit box assist, I think is the one that it is. I believe it's this guy who defaults to true on the style, if I remember right. And it may not show it to me here. I was thinking I might be able to get to see it. But you'll note this guy here has a left button down handler to be able to automatically set you into edit mode as you're clicking. So that's what's ultimately driving that automatic edit. If you are outside of the material design library, you will not have that behavior. So just calling that out for anybody doing this with a regular data grid and going, that's not how it works. Well, it is in this library. So I think what I want to see now is the order these events are firing. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go in the code behind here, and I am going to breakpoint, 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 and then we're going to go actions, function, close. I wonder if there's a hotkey for this. The actions doesn't show one. I feel like I want to be able to make these hotkeys quicker. We're gonna go here. Actions, $ function. This just gives us the output very easily. And the only reason I'm not just wanting to hit these breakpoints is because I strongly suspect what's going to happen is I am going to, because this is all UI driven, the order of output is probably going to matter. And when you hit a breakpoint, Windows focus is stolen to the debugger. And I suspect that will be problematic. So we're going to do this. We're going to zip me over here real quick. And we're going to come here and we're going to go click. So cell edit ending, because we were previously in an edit, row edit ending. We have a binding error, which is interesting. And then preparing cell for edit. So I think if I go here, interesting. And I'm holding down control at the moment. And if I click here, cell edit ending, row edit ending. So it took both of those out and then prepare cell for edit. And I think if I go here and I go, let's see, var data grid gets data grid, and I cast the sender, and I think I can do data grid dot selected items. Because what I'm really looking to do is when an edit is applied. I'm trying to remember. Does this give me? Yeah. So so this is effectively what I am thinking, right? So if e.cancel return, because if the edit was canceled with the escape key or whatever, we do nothing, right? If it wasn't canceled, what we then need to do is we then need to figure out, ooh, what is edit action? What do you have on you? Cancel commit. Oh, so we could, that's basically the exact same information. I'm trying to figure out if there's a better way rather than grabbing the column to know what was edited. Okay, so I want to look here real quick because preparing cell for edit. So this is where we want to capture. So I think what I want to do is I want to do this here, capture the selected items. When the edit occurs, I need to find what bit of the item was edited. And then, let's see, simplify name in document, please. Yeah, do it. I think that's probably the path of least resistance. I think I'm just trying to decide if that's the easiest way to go through and do this or not. Let me go here. I want to look at what I have at my disposal on the data grid for begin edit. Yeah, I don't. I'm gonna end up going back after the selected item anyway. So let's go with e.column, and that gives me access to the column itself. And then I think I might just have to, for the purposes of this, go after one. Yeah, I think actually I want because I kind of want to do data grid. I'm wondering if I can grab the selected cells. I'm just curious here because I'd like to see if I can do this sending the same edit through the data grid down to the selected items. But that may or may not be a reasonable idea because that still just gives me. And actually, maybe we should look at our selected items, data grid, selected items, var selected cells gets data grid dot selected cells. Great. Let's take a brief gander at what this looks like because I'm curious if I can get at this the same way. All right, so if I do control click, control click, control click, control click, set breakpoint, and I go control click here. I do have 16 selected cells because it's row selection. Those selected cells are coming from each of these, right? So I've got 4 columns, 4 rows as I'm ending the selection. Hey, Pinuan, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome in. Trying to solve up a WPF question that came in my Discord, and so we're gonna just see if we can work through doing this data grid bit. The hard part, and what I might end up doing here, and this may end up being a little bit kind of cheating, is let's see, data grid text column. MDIX text column, just to be clear of what this is going to end up being, because we do have our stop helping me, Copilot. We do have that one, which I believe is what this column is going to end up being. Because if I do the MDIX text column, then we can actually get at the relevant binding. Let's see, get cell content. What I really want is a set, but that's not going to work. I think what I end up needing to do is, well, do I care? I'm just trying to decide if I care. I think what I can just do is look at the binding and go, we'll just go with the binding path. Because in this case, it's this binding here is a binding that is specified on the column itself. It is not the instance of the binding that is getting applied to each of the individual cells. Those ones have separate ones. Just trying to decide if I could do something clever here. And I don't know that I actually want to. because there's a handful of fun internal stuff in the data grid that might make this more interesting. So I think what we're going to end up doing is just switching on this. Binding. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. But so I wish you'd stop showing off Copilot. You're wrong, just to be clear. You're utterly wrong. Yeah. And you're probably unhappy because it doesn't have path, because binding isn't a... This is probably a binding base. Yeah. Let's see. Is... Binding is binding, not binding base. Column binding. There. Shut up. There, we'll just do this. Column binding. And then this should have my path on here. And then we're going to do name of person dot name. Right. And this is, oh, because this is where it's actually going to be path. Yeah. There. That's a lot of work. We're not going to do that kind of garbage. We're not going to do that kind of art. So we're going to do this once to make sure it works properly, and then we'll implement the other ones, because we should be able to rinse repeat. So cell edit ending. I'm wondering if there's a commit. Let me check what I put in the Discord. Cell begin edit, cell end edit were the two that I had called out. Cell end editing. Yeah, I think we're in the wrong function. Go back over here. So well, edit ending is kind of correct. The problem is we don't know if the edit's ending due to commit or not. And that's why I'm... check this one. Because one of these, I know I've done this on other events, and manipulation completed event args. What do you have here? No, that is not it. That is manipulation. Cell for edit, cell edit ending. How do I not trust you? I don't trust you. Preparing cell for edit, cell edit ending. Do I know what the edit was? Well, let's carry this down. So if this is name and we have selected items, and we're going to go selected items of type person, right? And then here we want to go through and grab the, we should have editing element. That's the element itself. What I'm looking to see is get the row that contains the cell. Just want the individual item is what I am looking for. Because I need to know what the change was, because functionally we're going to end up going for each var person in selected items. Yeah, shut up. And person dot name gets, you know, new value here goes this. Because we aren't going to use the cells. We can get rid of that. But how do we grab the right one? Because we could just go data grid items and pull it back. I don't like that as much. I was hoping that it was on here somewhere. But it looks like row might be the easiest way to... Oh, I guess I can get the item off the row itself. Because that one will have it. So let's come down here. So var edited item. I think we'll just confirm that this actually gets me what I want. Row data context as person. So maybe we'll actually throw this in here just so I can just keep going. Is person new person. And so this is going to end up then being new person.name. I think this will have the new value already in it at this point. That is my working theory. Let's give it a try. Okay, so we're going to go down here. We're going to go here, here, here. And I'm intentionally doing this. We're going to rename this person to Kevin because that's obviously the best name possible. And then I'm going to hit enter. Didn't trigger. So the question is why? Let's see. Cell edit ending definitely fired. But I guess the first question is which one of these conditions didn't fire? If I go here, I do this. Okay, so I see the first problem. My column is a data grid text column, so it's not the material design one. So that's problem one. I'm actually surprised at that. I thought our default style forced everything into the I'm going to fully qualify this, and I'm going to rename this guy to just be text column because why mess with perfection? That gets us to there. Let's see if that fires. Okay, so we're going to go click, control click, let it go. We're going to go here, let it go, rename you to Kevin, press enter. So let's start with this. Does new person.name equal Kevin? No, it's Jennifer Smith. I'm a little surprised that this... How many selected items are there? There's 3. This should fire on all of these. So it did rename these top 2 to Jennifer Smith because it didn't have the edited change in here. So it has not committed the edited of the new value yet. So where is that new value? Is it possible the edit ending is before the property setter? Very possible. Because the binding is the data grid column applies a binding between the item itself and the cell. It is very possible these are occurring out of order. In fact, I would say potentially very likely. And this is why I'm wanting to know, because I think this is part of why when the question came up in my Discord, why, like, I knew it was going to be a little wacky to do. Because oftentimes, like, my recommendation to people is, 1, data grid is one of the hardest controls to use inside a WPF. It is deceptively difficult because it is somewhat easy to get started. It's very quick to throw something like this up and go, look, all the XAML that it took if we ignore the event registrations we did, it's a very simple control. It's very simple. But as soon as you start to do something interesting with it, you can dive off the deep end real fast because there's a lot of extra things at play. Even the default of auto-generating the columns and not explicitly specifying it gets to be a little more interesting. I'm realizing as well I would like to look at, let me go back here real quick. Data grid, and then let's take just a quick gander at here because I believe data context change, current cell changed, focus. Maybe it's better off to just jump to the docs on it. But I could have sworn there was a different event for cell value committed. And honestly, we could do this at the row level rather than the cell level. Because we know the row edit also fires at the end. Let's try that. I wonder if row edit, because we know from the output down here, right, that we see preparing cell for edit fires first, cell edit ending, and then row edit ending. The only drawback with row edit ending is we've now given up which column it was. Yeah, that, and I don't really, hang on, let's go back to that. Because the other thing that's somewhat interesting about this, nope, don't be mean, is when you do this, because these are going into edit mode, technically there is a commit that's occurring here. So it does seem, we almost need to also be checking if the value in here is different than what was there before we just blind apply. Because if there's no change to this row, we don't want the bulk edit to apply. So where does this guy? I'm curious if I can look at this editing control that displays the cell in editing mode. We could go after this to get, because this will be a text box and we could grab this. This gets more complicated the moment you have a template column. That would be one path of approach. I am a little curious to know at what point the assignment occurs. So we're going to go with partial void on name changed. And we're just going to leverage this. That way, I'm going to relaunch. That way I can put a breakpoint in here and then look at the call stack. Because this will somewhat go back to your question about, is it possible it's happening before the property setter? We're going to go click, click, click. And then we're going to go on to Sarah Thomas here. And then we're going to do this. And we're going to come back. On Sarah Thomas, we will rename Sarah to Kevin. Because obviously that's the best name ever. Okay. So call stack, where did we come from? So in this case, we are coming in from our assignment of what is the wrong value. Just fine. I'll let that one go. Let's see. That's also the wrong one. Also the wrong one. And then this one comes in here. And at this point, we have gone through, there's the binding expression, update values. I'm just trying to look to see if I see something that indicates an end. So this is the data grid end edit. That got triggered from the key down because it was the enter key down. So queues up execution. And this is where I'm wondering if maybe we should be looking at data grid, because I thought there was an end edit event. Am I wrong? Data grid edit. Is there really, does this really not start with, take a quick gander at the code. Does this not really start with just a end edit? So command execute in this case. Commit edit. And edit there. You'll note here, this is commit edit, and then this jumps straight into end edit. Some people get a little confused when they see call stacks like this because it's like there's clearly something missing, and the answer is there is. It's called inlining. There is, if we look at this commit edit, we will probably find the call to end edit inside of it. Commit edit. And then commit edit probably is editing row item, is editing current cell, commit edit. And then one of these will get us into the end edit there. So these functions have been inlining commit edit command. So these are routed commands. We could wire up handlers to the routed commands. That may be easier. Commit edit command. Because what do you get fired with? Commit edit. I'm just looking to know what the... Let's put a routed event handler on this. Let's try that, because that seems like something that might be a thing. So data grid. Stop it. Stop it, Copilot. You're not helping. Go away. Let's see. Command bindings. Command binding. The command is going. Command static data grid edit. Commit edit command. And then we're going to go with executed. Generate me a new handler. I think we just go there. Let's just see if it comes up appropriately. I am curious if it's going to be marked as handled underneath us, and we're going to have to do something more, or if we can just grab this. Let's come in here, and we're going to just breakpoint this sucker. Yes. No, and that the data grid and the pitfalls of code behind are like MVVM is great until your controls that you're using don't support it in a great way. And a lot of times to get these advanced UI scenarios, you end up having to do it. Like, I don't subscribe to the idea of you should never use code behind, but I usually subscribe to the idea of it should be used sparingly, and everything in it should be very view-centric code, right? Business logic goes away. This is why I've been trying to force all this stuff to just, invoke on the view model, invoke on the view model. Okay, so that guy made it to me. Okay, so that might be... It does come up with the original cell. And a parameter of type row. Okay, so let's let it go for a moment. If I go here, is that going to change my parameter to type cell? Because I've just selected a different cell inside of it. Okay, I don't know that that's relevant for our purposes. Then if I go Kevin enter, when this guy makes it up, it does have the original source with the value already applied, it appears. Data grid cell, I want to look at the data context. Ah, but it has not applied yet. So when this guy bubbles all the way up to me, which is great, except for the fact that I need... I would really like to get this after the fact, not before. I've already got before. Because if I go into person and look at this guy and grab it here, right? I'm going to hit enter again. So I bubble up here first, even though the cell has the updated value. I'm going to end up having to reach across to grab it before... Yeah, my breakpoints are messing with the UI because it's pulling the focus around. Back those guys up for a moment. Okay, let's go back here. Let's go back here. E dot column get cell content. I'm curious if this will give me the right item. And so if I go here, get cell content, new person, var new value, question, don't know, but I am very curious if that will... I'm curious what that will get me. So let's kill you off. Once again, launches in the other one. So if I go here and do Kevin enter, oh, because I'm now handling the... Oh, suck. Sorry. So I'm now handling the command, so it's not actually making it to the data grid to finish. So good to know if we grab it early, it does that, but that's not really what I wanted to test. So just comment it for the moment. Okay. Do you have the value of Kevin? Get cell content. This is literally just going to give me the text box, which is not really what I need. Boy, I mean, we could grab it from the editing element. There's just going to be so much hard-coded crap in all of this if I go this route. It may be the path of least resistance given this set of requirements, though. It may be the path of least resistance. Because I could always just go after e.editing element. Because we're already going after data grid text column. Let's see. E.editing element is text. text box. And we're just going to come down here and we're going to change this to new value. Text box dot text. There's so many gotchas with this though. Specifically, the gotcha in question that I am realizing when if there is any sort of converter on the binding, this is going to miss that. Which means we probably shouldn't do it here. Go back and look at the requirements. Apply change in multi-selection, like select all, change one cell, and then apply that change to all selection of that column. The fact that it says of that column makes me suspect that we are in row selection mode, not cell selection mode, but I think it could work either way. I'm wondering if the better thing to do, because data grid will have selected cells, and selected cells does have the column and the item in it. So you could work your way into what is appropriate. I'm just wondering if the better thing to do is to float the selection into the view model, have the view model watch for the changes, and then when a change occurs, float that into the other ones. Is that better? That's probably better, actually. Because then I'm doing everything after the binding. That might be better. Data grid. Look at the selection events. Selected cells changed. This is probably better. Because what we could do... bad. Yeah, let's go down that route. This field, that, okay. I'm liking this better. So let's go here. Selected cells changed. Right, and then we'll float this information into our view model. We'll clear that out. Yeah, just, I don't care. Go away for a minute. Selected cells changed. So this guy here should have my selected cells. Or actually what we can do is we can just grab the data grid from this. And then we can just grab selected cells. So var selected cells gets data grid selected cells. Okay, so then in our view model, what we need is something to assign to here that indicates the selected stuff. We could pass through a simple two-dimensional array. There's just a lot of weird edge cases here, right? Because if you allow columns to be reordered, indexes are not great. So what if we go with a public list of tuple, and this is probably bad, string name person, right? So we're gonna go selected cells. Get set, and we will do something of this nature, I think. Because if I go into here, my selected cells, do each of those have a item, which I can cast a person. And it gives me a column that I think I'm okay with casting to a text column. So, and actually what we can do is, let's do, this is one of those few times where I think the other syntax works better. From cell in, let person equals cell dot item as person, where person is not null. Let text column equals cell dot column as dated grid text column, where text column is not null. Same disambiguation as we had before. We know what it is. We go there. Let property name equal, yep, where property name is not null. And then we are going to select, I'm not going to select person, but I want property name person. Little bit of hard-codedness with the columns up here, but that's something that in theory could be worked around. Because most people, once you have a data grid, you typically know all of the column types that you're dealing with in the grid, and it's generally a smallish number. I say smallish. It's probably less than half a dozen in most cases. And then so we're going to go with main window view model, data context. We could probably capture this from the constructor if we wanted to hold on to it without the cast, but this is proof of concept. We don't need to. Proof of concept. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. That's the order of operations here. Selected cells to list, right? So that gives us that. Okay, fine. We can use collection. Okay, collection expressions. They're cool. They're great. Great. Okay, so we're going to go there. I'm going to comment this out. It should be unreferenced at this point, but I just don't want to get hosed by something doing code that I don't expect. And with you, I would like you to not do anything I don't expect. And that gets me to there. That gets me to there. That gets the selection all the way into my view model. And now I can do all of the logic that I need to inside of here. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up really quick. Because I am controlling when items get added, in proof of concept, we're going to do person.property changed. Worth noting, this is a potential memory leak if things are able to leave this collection without being unregistered. So be cautious of random property change registrations like this. I have seen many a leak this way. Okay, so we're going to collapse you up so I don't have to look at you anymore, and I don't really want to look at you anymore. So now when a property changes, what I would like to do is I would like to rip through the selected items, find the same property, and then apply it. So for each, and we're gonna decompose string property name person person in selected cells, right? And then we're gonna come in here. We should probably make sure we don't blow up. Like that. Great, null case handled. If, let's see, person equals sender, we're gonna just continue because we don't want to act on ourselves. That is bad. And then if not, what we would like to do is, and this is not horribly efficient, but we are going to do it anyway. We need to get the, let's see, type of person in reflection, not horribly efficient, but make it work, make it right, make it fast. Get property of e dot property name. So stop it. Stop helping me. Var prop info. I think in this case, I am just going to, fine. If e dot property name is null, return, right? Like it's possible for that to happen, but not in any reasonable code path. Same with prop info. The like if somebody's raising property change with a random string, they deserve what they get, right? We aren't going to run into this problem with the source generated stuff. So I'm gonna grab the property info. We're gonna go var new value gets prop info get value sender, because that will be the person. And then we're gonna go with if property name equals e dot property name, then set the value into there. I think that works. Stop it. Can't type. I cannot type. And I personally, so something I usually call out, this is actually probably a really bad name of selected cells for anything that's in production. So this type of thing I see happen quite a bit, where it's a very, it's tight coupling, but it's type coupling via the name, right? Of this, the whole point of MVVM is to decouple your view model from the view, so that your view model can be nicely tested and otherwise. And oftentimes I see people leak view stuff into the view model via the names. It's not a huge deal here, but in theory, this list could be displayed not in a data grid. It could be in a list. And so having it tightly coupled to that, so it's whatever. Right, so I'm going to go select here, select here, and select here. And then I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go Kevin, and I'm going to go enter. It works! I mean, for loose definitions of work, right? Like, assuming that's the desired behavior, right? Where we go by rows, right? And so, because you'll note I did name, email, phone number. And if we change this to just be, you know, let's see, 8675309, right? Enter. Oh, did I lose my selection? I think I lost my selection. If I go here and here, 8675309, enter. And now it's updated every other one. Right? So that goes through and does it. Okay, I think this might be, let me clean this up just a little bit. Cannot rename this element. Why can I not rename this element? Oh, I guess it makes sense. Because this is a value tuple, and value tuples, these names are not real names. They're close, but not real. Okay, so selected properties, that cleans that up. Clean this up, because I'd like to post this sample as an answer of sorts. And we're going to get rid of all these, get rid of all that, get rid of all that. Much works. We're going to leave a little to-do here. To-do, handle any other column types that may exist in your data grid. Because this is the other thing. Because data grids can have a templated column, The templated column is like the escape hatch for data grid of, I need to do something funky. I'm going to roll my own template for this thing for whatever reason, right? Maybe it's simple as, you know what, I want to put an image next to my text box. Well, there's not a built-in column for that, so you roll your own. And the moment you do a templated column, there's no generic-y way to know what the right answer is, because that templated column could contain any number of things. It could combine to multiple properties. It's like, I don't know. So if you do end up doing a templated column, you may end up having to do something funky around this idea. But I think this gets down to something that's somewhat generic, and I kind of am more okay with this, right? The basic premise being, get the data for the selected areas or for the selected items, feed that into your view model, have your view model watch for property changes. And I'm going to leave a comment here around the event handler. Let's see. To do potential memory leak here if the event handler is not cleaned up. Ensure any other ways that items are added, they have the event handler attached to or registered to. Because the other one is data grids allow you to have a new row, basically, to be able to type things in. There's an event on the data grid for like datagrid.add new item, I think. And so you end up having to feed, again, that information back down in, or watch like your observable collection for collection change, watch for item added. All of those things need to happen. Can't spell. Let's see. How do you feel about creating observable sequences out of events and disposing them with a view model disposable? Yeah, so that is very similar to like the reactive extensions way of doing it. I've done it before. I don't hate it. It's definitely not bad. I think it depends a little bit on what I'm doing, whether I would go that route or not. Some people use it for everything. I guess for me it always feels it's a very fluenty style syntax, and fluent syntax inherently is ambiguous because it's never clear whether it mutates the instance passed in or whether you act on the new instance. Now, most people get around that by going, well, of course, we're using this library. It always behaves the same way. I can explain it in one sentence, therefore it's fine. Right. Like, I definitely go that route. I also have seen that sometimes newer engineers struggle to follow that flow a little bit more. But again, that's kind of like neither of those is a good reason to not do it, especially because it does give you a very clean way of kind of handling that order of events in and making sure everything gets cleaned up properly, right? Like your comment there on view model disposal, that somewhat implies that something is managing the view model's lifetime, right? And I have oftentimes in a lot of my libraries, like window closing events tend to dispose the view model of the data context, and that generally propagates down, right? The main window view model then cleans up and it calls dispose on any of its child view models that it's referencing. Like in this case, if person were idisposable, it would be calling dispose on each of those all the way down. Great, right? Like that thing works. The biggest problem is that WPF has none of that built in. And a lot of it just comes from artifacts of how old it is. But yeah, no, I definitely don't hate observable sequences with like that React thing. I think is perfectly fine way of doing it. So no objections if I see people doing it. I don't think it's the tool I reach for first. Partly because it's one of those like you have your iObservable, but there's not really a good built-in type in WPF that implements it, right? Like the interface is there, which honestly is the same argument with like I notify property changed, right? I notify property change. The interface is in the BCL, but in order to use it effectively, I'm bringing in another library or I'm having to write some specialized code to do it. which feels wrong. But again, I bring in the MVVM toolkit. There's no reason not to bring in something like reactive and go to town on it. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side. I think this works well. Okay, and now I want to go find my newfound toy. Let me grab it here real quick. There is a new library that I found. That looked to be released in the last couple months. Yeah, this guy here. This guy here. I know very little about it other than I found it earlier today. And I went, ooh. So for people who are unfamiliar with it, there is a project, me and another common viewer of this channel, Izzy, who is not here right now because if he was, he would have opened with a Merry Christmas. But we are building out this Enigma project, so if anybody is interested, which is an effort to build out a digital but an actual physical Enigma machine. Izzy's the brains on the physical side of things. I just build software, so we build stuff. But as part of this like STEM outreach event that he's a part of, where STEM students get to come and learn, this is a learning tool around kind of cryptography and kind of understanding how things work. Or as Izzy put it, the Enigma machine is just one of the world's most complicated light switches, which like press button, light comes on. Great. Right? Very simple. For people who are interested, there's a couple videos back on my YouTube if you want to see kind of the building of the first one and then the cleanup of it. But the software that we started in here is underneath this app, Codebreaker, source, and is it still out on a branch? Is it in the wrong? Oh. Boom, there we go. Develop branch. But it is a Avalonia based application. And what we built a very simplistic UI on top of it that's kind of crap. But the long-term goal is the idea of being able to have kind of this 3D exploded view and show how it works, which is what got me excited about this. Let's see. I sent one behavior related question on Discord if you want to take a look. I'll take a quick gander. Boom. There. Okay. So let me. Yes, and I assume you don't mind me sharing this since you posted it here. Grab it. Okay. So here's the question here. So WPF behavior that works for both listbox and listview both have a protected member called setSelected, which means two separate derived classes to get access it, listbox extension, listview extension, etc. So the new behavior can access it. Two separate behaviors, one for listbox EX and one for listview, which results in duplicated code. Is there a better design for this? Yes, slightly. Because you are writing your own listbox extension and listview EX, I would give them I would write a common interface and have both of these things implement the interface. Then your behavior can look towards that interface. It does mean, let me think this through, because behavior is a generic class where I believe behavior of T requires a dependency object derived class from it. Sorry, I'm thinking through this in my head. Because it requires a derived class. Here, let me just look real quick. Because I don't think my template comes with the behaviors added. Actually, I can probably just get it to do this. Public class my behavior, right, of let's see, and I think let's go here. public interface ifoo void set selected, right? Something of that nature. I don't think I can do an ifoo here, right? Because that is going to be unhappy. Yeah, foo can't be used because I'm pretty sure behavior has a requirement of t being a dependency object. Oh, I have it ready. Oh, look at you go. Look at you go. Yeah, because you end up doing this guy here. And I believe the fundamental problem is that list view, list box. I think what is it? The selector class is probably. Oh, wait a minute. List view derives from list box. Does that give you an advantage? Actually, I think that does actually work because that well, it doesn't give you because you do need the code in both. Because you don't have both of them there. I really want to do this with an interface. I think okay. I think we can do this with something that resembles this list box. Because then if I go and grab your right, because here's the behavior, and I'm just gonna blindly steal the code out of this without actually looking too closely at what we're doing. Does stuff, great. We're gonna grab that, and then I put this in my behavior, right? Make sure all of that works. And I just have to grab this guy here, because I can do that, and I can do that, and I think that gets me down to here. But this is leveraging it because we need to have this thing have set selected items, and I assume the I think it's probably object array or similar, right? And that gets me into there. That gets me into there. What is items in this case? I enumerable. Okay, we can do that. Then of that nature. But then the last trick here, because WPF doesn't play nice with generics inside of your XAML, right? So then you do still end up with public class list box behavior, where, I'm going to just tell it to shut up, right? And then you end up with public class list view behavior, and this is wrong. My behavior of list box ex. We'll go through and I'll finish building this out here real quick, or at least speccing this through. And then list view ex, because I do want to make sure this thing actually compiles all the way. Implement interface. So public class list box ex derives from list box. Stop it. Sure, great. And then list view ex, something of that nature. Right? And then this guy doesn't need to implement IFU. This guy doesn't need to implement IFU. So you can at least collapse down. So you're still going to end up with you're actually going to end up with one more class than what you have and an additional interface. Actually, we can do newer syntax. Yay, semicolons. But then on your list box EX and your list view EX classes, have both of them implement a common interface. In this case, we call it IFU. Create a base class for your behaviors, and I might even go as far as to make it abstract, just so nobody tries to instantiate it directly. And then create two derived classes from that behavior. But the key here is the behavior's generic parameter gets a generic constraint that adds both listbox and IFU. That way it meets the generic constraint of behavior, which requires that T be a dependency object. But then yours, like this doesn't have to be listbox. It could be dependency object. But given the setup of what you're doing, I assume because you want to know that your associated object is a list box, and that is the common type between these two at least. You can then do something of this nature where you then say, well, I want my T to be a list box, but I also want to make sure that it implements IFU because I need to be able to do the selection set down here for the set selected items. And then at least you get... you still end up with your duplication here, and I don't know that there's a way around this duplication, just because you need the code in list view because I assume you're using list view because you need some extra bit of the list view, probably the grid view property, I'm guessing, which is one of the more common reasons to do it, right? So you can't really get away without your EX classes deriving from their target base classes. But you can consolidate your behavior logic down into one place with an extra generic constraint. And I'll just dump this. I don't know that Discord will be happy with me, but I'm going to see if I can dump it all right in. Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen it automatically convert my message to a text file before. That's cool. Thank you, Discord. Something of that nature, perhaps. Okay. Okay, so what I was thinking here on the Enigma one is I was going to just blindly fork this repository to begin with because, one, this thing looks cool. Neat, works for me. Great. Good question, too. Is I was going to fork this and just pull down their demo and try it because the demo here seems to imply that this thing is just going to grab a 3D model and it's basically going to do kind of that 3D model preview where it just kind of rotates it around an axis. Fine, we need more than that for what we're planning on doing, but this might get me like I have a suspicion I can beat this into submission, maybe even go as far as PR features back. I don't know if the current author is hip to that idea or not, or if it's like, hey, I just did this as a proof of concept. I don't really want to maintain the library. That's fine, whatever. I've got a fork. I'm happy to, like, if I'm using it, I'm going to keep stuff rocking and rolling. So let me go and let's just go here and we're going to go clone and we're going to do GitHub and we're going to do that thing there. And then, yeah, great, clone, make it so. Great, sounds good. And then let's just what am I pressing the wrong button? Why am I Yeah. Weird. I must have had my fingers on the wrong key. Okay. So we're going to open this guy up. And I just kind of want to launch the demo and see it work, first of all. And then if it works, I think I want to try to just beat this demo into submission to see if I can make it do what I want. Right? Like, I thought about bringing it into my app and doing all kinds of stuff. And I was like, why? There's a demo app. Let's just use the demo that's been so conveniently provided for me. Okay. We've got this guy here. Let's see. Generate cube. Generated a cube file. So I assume, can I start animation directly? I probably have to generate and then load it. So let's see, it's in local app data temp. So let me just go there real quick. And then there's that, and then we're gonna go down to, I don't know what all's in my temp directory. Let's just not show it all completely real quick. That just sounds like a great way to accidentally expose something I'm not supposed to expose. Okay, so I loaded the file. Start animation. I have to say I'm a little underwhelmed at the moment unless I'm using this thing wrong. Reset rotation. Generate 3D text. Oh, there we go. What does it say? EA. I wonder if it's just random. So there's no interaction, but it clearly can take a model. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So I have a 3D printer. Thingiverse. There is, anybody with a 3D printer has at some point in their life printed a benchy. This is like the thing everyone must print. We will print a benchy, or we will render a benchy. Sure, that looks great. You will find insanely large number of these 57 files. Why am I getting 57 files? What did I click on? You will find all manner of benchies in existence. Let me. Files are empty. What? Well, that didn't go well. Okay, let me go here. I think I really just, I want files. I just want the STL. Yeah. So let me close this out. Yeah, I think we just want that benchy there. So if I just do that one, download block. Oh, my little security thing is trying to be helpful. Okay, I have a 3D benchy. So let's do load model file. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to navigate to my download directory, which will not do this. Okay, so there is a benchy. And the animation is a little slow. Now, admittedly, this thing is got a decent number of vertices on it. But this is, and if I do stop animation, does it just stop spinning? Yeah, and if I do start, I assume it just goes. This is a potential. I'm a little curious why its animation is so slow. Take a look. Okay, well, maybe we start at main window and just take a quick gander at what we've got here. Status bar, so it's this canvas 3D is the entry point for all things. And I assume there's just something in here that does Yeah, so there's some writer classes which I don't know matter to me that much. File pickers, animation start, stop, but all of these are just literally calling methods on this canvas 3D. Let's see here. So what are you doing? You have a dispatcher timer that is firing, which is probably the source of the lagginess. Because when you have this sucker firing, it is making the assumption that it can finish the rendering in under 16 milliseconds. Yeah, it does leave a little bit to be desired here. But again, I'm also not trying to do that much animation. What I'm more interested in doing is, can I pivot up, like, I want to be able to effectively take my model and add stop animation. I want to be able to take my model and change my viewing angle, right? Like I want to be able to drag up, drag to the side, like I want to have mouse interaction for the spin, which I think we can make happen. Like I don't see any reason why this class couldn't be made to do that. Because what is this dispatcher timer doing on animation tick? Are you just like invalidating? So you're adjusting the rotation and then invalidating the whole visual, which then causes a render pass to occur later. I kind of wonder, this thing here doesn't seem like, I'm wondering why it's a dispatcher timer. I say that because it seems weird that this is a dispatcher timer because this tick is going to occur on the UI thread. I wonder, invalidate visual, does that require an invocation from the UI thread? I don't, I don't think it does. Render root, render, add dirty. Even if it does, it doesn't make a lot of sense to make your dispatcher timer fire on it. Because clearly this drawing is what's taking up all of the effort. Um, because I think the key thing that I'm really interested in poaching from this is this has a rotation matrix, create scale, create translation, mesh vertices. So this is what's at, like the fact that this thing can load these things in and parse all this out for me, I think is one of the things that I'm very interested in having. Set mesh 3D. So it's got the mesh, it's built the vertices, it's done the work for me. I wonder if we get any speed bonuses by going and updating to net 10 stuff. Might try that. But it builds the vertices, builds the faces. Um, what's this doing? Get bounds. Oh, I see. These are out parameters. That's what I was missing. I'm like, I'm very confused as to how this works. Got it. Setting the out parameter, the minimum is. Okay, the minimum is either whatever the current minimum is or the vertice. All right, like there's a small thing here where you really should do skip one. Because if in the case where there is only one, you end up iterating when you don't need to. You can just early exit. Actually, it's probably better to do count equals 1 turn. It's probably better to do that rather than the skip. Well, a minor improvement, but not likely one that is our thing. Does the center. Okay, so that, I mean, that's all fine. Load model. And this is the other one that excited me, is when I saw that it had all of these loaders in here. Like, I realize these formats are not overly complex. Like, I've cracked them open before. They're just a lot of expensive stuff in there, but somebody else has already built this out, which is cool. And I kind of wonder if I could make this performant enough on the benchy. I don't know if I can, because this is one of the things where I keep flirting with the idea of going to like Unity instead and just scrapping Avalonia altogether. I hate doing that when I don't really need most of what those engines offer. And there's only a handful of solutions that I found that will render 3D models in an arbitrary space. Like, it's so close. Helix Toolkit. I think this is one that I've seen before. Let me pull it up. Yeah, I think this is one I looked at before. Yeah, I think I had looked at this one. I don't know if I actually pulled their stuff down to look at it. Maybe we should. Offering unified graphics, multiple backend support. Yeah, I think my biggest thing here was trying to understand what I needed to do with it. But maybe we take a look at this, because this is the other one that there's also one that is I'm trying to remember the name of it. I have to go back to my links. There's one that's a paid solution out there, and paid isn't necessarily bad in this case, but they do also offer, you have to apply for it, but they have open source licenses that they advertise as well. So it's like, oh, okay. I mean, this is open source. It's a STEM thing. We probably meet the requirements. Let's see. You claim to have a getting started tutorial. For WinUI, do this one. Right. So great. We add it in. We do the needful. There's the camera position, which is effectively what I would be looking to add into the other one. Which is great. But where do you do how do I get a model into it is my next question. Like this is because that's the other thing that I've seen that is slightly more interesting, is getting something actually put in there. Though maybe combining the two wouldn't be a bad idea. Because these are, and maybe I can combine them together. If somebody's already built the parser for me. Because that I suspect that is the performance bottleneck of doing it this way, is there's a lot of rendering that happens that is not needed, right? Like when you render a model in a game, like even though the model may have lots of vertices and otherwise, you typically can only see a portion of it. And so there's a lot of work that often goes into the rendering to strip out all of the stuff that it doesn't need to render, because that's a lot of extra data that it doesn't need right now, right? Whereas this doesn't appear to have any of those stuff, which is why that benchy rendering is probably lagging, right? I don't know exactly how many faces and vertices that thing probably loads in, but I'm going to go with a lot, right? Like if I go here and I just do anything that triggers this, what does this mesh show? Yeah. So this mesh has, what are those numbers? 225,000 faces and 677,000 vertices. So not huge, but in my opinion, a benchy is probably a fairly good example of doing this. And so just the fact that we're for eaching over something that's going to be close to 1 million and trying to do this translation math on top of it, and then we're going to build up this list here, right? There's a lot of stuff in here that I can easily see being problematic. The other thing that's problematic inside of this, like there's already a simple optimization here with this list of point, right? So just for people who are interested, a very simple one is, and this is probably too big. If you know how big your list is going to be ahead of time, there's a constructor on list for taking in the capacity, because the problem being that list is backed by an array on the inside. And so every time you add items into it, once say your list is your array is only of size 10, when you go to add that 11th item, well, there's not enough space. It has to allocate more array size to be able to go through and do it. And those allocations aren't cheap, right? I believe the default is 10. Don't quote me on this. It's been a while since I looked at it, and it doubles every time it needs to resize up, right? And so you are paying the cost of not just the size of it, of adding in those 677,000 vertices, but also the resize every step of the way and the copying of data from array 1 to array 2, which is not cheap, right? So you can save yourself a bit of pain and suffering by just going through and adding these in place, right? Which is great. But again, yeah, the fact that we have all of these things in here, and there's, I mean, a small simplification here of make that static. Like, part of me is somewhat intrigued about doing this, but I'm also somewhat intrigued about this guy here. What's the easiest way to test this? You know what? Maybe I just add this. Maybe we just add this NuGet package straight into this demo app and see what happens. Because then we could do them side by side. Let's see. We got to stop debugging for that. Because then I've got all of his code in there for... I've got all of his code inside of there for being able to pull it in. Which is probably not a bad thing. I like it already. Okay, so we'll try that. And actually, while we're in here, let's just back up. Manage NuGet packages for solutions. We're just going to give ourselves a couple. We're just going to grab the latest of all the things. Yeah, because I think his GitHub repo showed 2 months ago. And so, you know, Avalonia's had an update since then. Great, fine. And then I think the only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bump this to net 10, because there is a teeny little bump in performance by doing this. Not too teeny. Like, it's not. I don't think it's going to be enough to make a difference in terms of noticeable speed improvement, but it will be faster. And then the question will be, is there a good way of, let's see, we aren't going to do quite like this, but we'll get close. I just want to see. I just baseline load model file. There's my benchy. And if I start animation, we should still see the same kind of jerky behavior. Yeah. Hard to noticeably tell, at least on my end, if there's much of a performance improvement. So I not shocked, but just wanted to baseline it. Okay, so if we go main window here, right? I want to look at what. So that's the control stuff. This guy here is. So this is inside of a dock panel where last child fills. So the other ones are dock panel bottom. This guy gets shoved in. I think what we're going to do here instead is we are going to just do stack panel as our last child. And then we are going to, we'll just leave that like that. Format it for the moment. X name, we'll call it content root. Great. Then we'll go into the code behind and we'll take exactly their demo, but we're going to do content root dot children add, and we'll just shove it into that stack panel. That way there is something about there. This is, let's see, this wants a vector 3. So their docs are written for WPF, it looks like. We can do this. I think the constructor is very similar. Is look direction also vector 3? It looks like it. Oh, great. We'll do something of that nature. Again, I don't know what I'm expecting to see rendered here, but not overly shocking that there's nothing there. I just want to make sure I'm getting space allocated for this. So we're gonna do, let's put you on here. Let's put you on here. And we're gonna whack the border out of the mix. Stop it. And then maybe rather than a stack panel, I should do a grid. And we're gonna do, oh, this is Avalonia, so we can do things like row definitions, star, comma, star. And then when we add this in, we are going to do grid set row 1. Oh, actually, it's going to be viewport and then 1, just to bring that across. And then content root children add. Yeah, let's try that. That way, by doing row definition star star, it's going to split it equally between the two, and then I end up with something that I know what I expect to see. Okay, so if I load model file, I grab my benchy, should see it load in roughly half the space. Great. So the thing loads, I just don't have any content in it. So it's kind of hard to say if it's working because, you know, I've loaded, it's nice that I have a viewport and a camera, but how do I load stuff into it? I need to be able to put something in my content view. So next steps, let's see. Oh, that's just how to contribute to the docs? Yeah, don't care. Do you have demos? Have models, which that's great that you have models, but what uses these models? Actually, you know what we could do? If I know what the models are called, bottle, that is probably a fairly unique string in this repository. Who uses bottle? Someone here should probably source examples. That's what I probably want. Go ahead and back that out and go look at their samples. Source examples. And do you have an Avalonia sample? Well, look at that. How kind of you. Empty demo. Please have something useful in you. Nothing there, not surprising. Let's go into the shared project. Just double check here. It's just loading main view, which is the default behavior. Main view, do you have anything interesting? Okay, so binding of the camera, binding of the effects manager, on rendered, show view cube, show coordinate system, show camera info. Well, shoot. Let's grab all this stuff. This looks like, okay. Then we'll go take a quick gander at what they're doing on that side. So I don't need to do that outside. I can do something of that nature. I need the right namespace includes. That's fine. We'll grab that. Let's just grab it. Okay, great. And then I assume main view model is going to have some useful bits for me. Main view model. Hey, Surge VB, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Okay, effects manager and camera are just both pointed at default bits. Okay. I mean, we can do this. We can do this. Let's go in here. We'll go here. We'll go public class main view model. Flap it in. Nothing fancy. We will do, come down here and go data context gets new main view model. Done. All right. So that'll at least make that much work. We are going to get rid of this, I think, because we added it to the XAML instead. That gets me to there. That gets me to there. I don't know what I don't know if I expect to see anything here just by setting up this, but maybe. Let's see, cannot parse without an expected data type given. Oh, so I need to specify because I didn't have a view model before. So let's see, X data type gets, do we have our self-located local, let's see, local main view model, I think is what it was. Something of that nature. Unable to resolve, did I put it in that namespace? Oh, that's not the same namespace. That is the demo namespace. Local is pointed at not that. So XML namespace, sure, VM gets, and this is one of the things that I like about Avalonia, is I can just do using : Avalonia 3D canvas demo. Boom. And actually I should just call this demo. Better. And then this becomes demo. I don't know what else might be using that local. I could probably rename it. Let's see. Unable to find suitable setter or adder for property on rendered of type blah blah blah. Sorry, what? Did I need to register something up? Oh, on rendered, I bet you is an event. I bet you that's an event. Which means I need to go back. I don't know if is their main view doing something with that event. Doing something. Great. What I heard is borrow code. There. Happy? Oh, frame count is missing. Give it the frame count as well. Try that again. Build succeeded. Great. I will say, the speed at which Avalonia compiles and launches is just utterly mind-boggling to me. Okay, again, don't see anything. Not sure if I expect to, though. Like, I'm not entirely sure what I expect to see in here. Well, I mean, I did just kind of blindly copy their code in. Like, what is this? Is view cube edge clicks enabled? I feel like something would be referencing that name viewport and actually loading content. That's not useful. Let's see. There's nothing in the main window. I can't imagine. Doesn't look like it. Great. Let's see. Is there anything in the AXML? Nope. Just the main view reference. The main view is it. We got the only thing useful. The detach from visual tree is nice, but I don't care. They're setting up the data context here. There's a text box with a greeting, not likely relevant. Which is interesting because both of those things are laid into the same spot on the grid. Try the code sent in Discord. Ooh. Thank you. Ooh. Got it. I said you might be my favorite person right now. If I go there, yeah, I understand. I need to go with HX on these since that's what I name my namespace. Go there, HX, and then, oh, model visual 3D. If it's that easy, holy crap, that's going to be amazing. Grid row 1. And then I just need to go download their model because I do not have a models teapot. So I need to just back up here because models was at the root, I believe, is where I saw it. Yeah, models, and then that was the OBGA, right? Yeah. Bum. And then we'll just download this one. This is, I think, about as simple of a model as I can ask for. So I will grab triangle OBGA and I will put it, open in File Explorer here. And so I'm going to just change the path then to triangle, and I'm going to assume that it is relative to my working directory, which means I need this thing copied to my output directory there. Stop debugging, yes. Viewport doesn't exist in current context, right? We can go ahead and comment you out now. Gets rid of that. Let's see. Helix viewport 3D. I'm gonna assume it's supposed to be that. Let's see here. Sunlight. I just do light. I assume. Well, I think I can pull because I know this one exists. Um, Aizen, was that sample code that you got for something other than Model 3D? So was it for something other than Avalonia by any chance? Or am I missing an extra? Is there another NuGet package, perhaps? Because if I do something like sunlight, oh, that's a WPF sample. Ah ha 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 ha. Okay. So let's. I wonder if that. I wonder if that's what's biting me. Because if I go Auto Visual 3D, also in the WPF one. So how do, if I look in the model namespace, am I really that limited if I go with Avalonia, where there's 3D rendering in WPF, but not in, because that would make me sad. It would make me very sad if I didn't have, or if they just changed the API names for it. Okay. Because it seems like some of this stuff is in here. Model container. Used to shared models for multiple. Copilot. Earn your keep. Okay. We're gonna do something interesting here for real quick. Terminal, give me a code instant. Come on. Copilot, you can read these docs a lot quicker than I can. So I would like you to do the work for me. Or at least go and help me figure this out. Okay, so turn on agent mode, demo, and I'm going to go here. Let's see here. And I'm going to literally take your code from Discord. Okay. I am using Helix to try and render a 3D model. I have the following WPF code. Please help me get working in my Avalonia app. We're going to take this out here. We're going to bring this back for a moment. We're going to add that as context for it. I'm going to ensure that I have context 7 checked. Do I not have context 7 installed at a root level? That seems bad. Let's see. Browse for MCP servers. Context 7. You can disable it. Really? Yeah. Yeah, it shows it's there. Did it just... context 7, update tools. There we go. Okay. You can go ahead and leverage all of that stuff. That seems fine. Seven to look up latest docs. Demo. Paste. Send it. Okay, Copilot, impress me. This is your opportunity. Do amazing. Yes. I should always allow context 7. Kind of want to see. Be big mode. I make you go away. I don't want my agent sessions there. There we go. Okay, you think about what you've done, and I'm gonna go read some docs while you I'll put you over here where you can think about it. I'll check. Okay. So while Copilot is reading, we're gonna see if the real engineer can outperform it. And actually, the other thing we could do is we could just check and ooh, hang on. WPF versus WPF Sharp DX. I kind of want to just check the issues because in general, if there's a problem, like I'm rarely the first one. Linux and Avalonia support. This was before reaching current Helix tool set features. Mesh geometry for each geometry and put them in a group without using the item. Okay, how do I currently bind to a geometry collection property in a view model in the Avalonia version? Items model 3D isn't available in Avalonia. Mesh geometry model 3D. So that tells me that mesh geometry model is where I need to look. Let's start there. Let's start there. So I see reference Copilot still just chugging along, thinking about its life. I see a handful of interesting bits here, but nothing. I mean, it has render wireframe, but what do you derive? What is your base class? Okay, let's go down a level. Is transparent material? What is a material? Got it. So I see other various ones in here as a line material to be able to go through and do. Geometry model 3D. Now we're getting somewhere. Always hittable. Fill mode, geometry. Okay. This looks more like what I am expecting. Geometry 3D and doing all of the needful. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So if these things are from... This is as recent as last month. So this guy here... Or multiple backend with initial focus on Vulkan. So this guy here is the potential new replacement. Got it. Okay, but that is nowhere close to where we need it to be. I'm just surprised. And actually, you know what? Now that you've given me the... Boy, Copilot, really? Still just trying to find the right stuff. Model Visual 3D. I kind of want to go look at that model visual. We'll come back to you in a minute. Because it looks like he's got nice layering in here. Where there's probably something that could be extracted from this. Great text label model 3D. Xbox. Because this is what I'm wondering. If I've already got the thing that's building up my vertices, can I just layer these things in? Right? Would it be that hard? Let's see. Create dice. So grabs a vector. I imagine it's this two mesh that is probably the most interesting. But like these are just his common base classes. Right? Like these aren't anything in a WPF namespace, which makes me suspect that I could effectively re-implement this class in Avalonia. I'm just surprised that I would be the first one to do it. Here, get texture from resource. Oh, Copilot, you are still thinking. I don't know what you are stuck on. I'm gonna stop it. Tell it to try again. Because it literally just sat there and hung the whole time. Yeah. Looks like it's actually hanging on the context 7 call. I might back this up because it seems like it's just stuck there. Because this should not be a long call. I wonder if they're overloaded or similar. Let's stop. Let's go back up here. Let's just eliminate that bit from the docs and relaunch from there. Here's how to adapt your code. Well, you're very confident. Show me. Show me what I need to understand. I am actually also curious if I poke at this source for just a minute more while it's linking. Because this really is, when it says empty demo, it means empty demo. It does seem like it should be possible to recreate. Oh, you're actually going. You are actually going. Okay, so how are you going to get the model in there is my question. Oh, it's hanging because it's asking for my API key for context 7. Duh. An idiot. I couldn't see the thing at the top. I will say this UI for Copilot in VS Code, the number of times I've been bit by that is very high. Okay, you have written a button, you have done work. What the heck are you doing, Copilot? It's undoing my commented out work. Wow, Copilot, you are... If this works, I'm going to be shocked. Sure, fine, keep it. Great. Let's go over here. Do you even compile? No. Vector 3 can't be found. That's just a using problem. Okay, fix that. Let's see, an expression of type object 3D can. I'm gonna go grab my API key for context 7 real quick because I think it will do better once I give it better docs. Let's see. Come on. Go get it. Let's see. Sign in. Do the needful. Sign in. Grab what I inevitably assume is going to be a two-factor auth. Oh, nope. Let's see. Grab that. Copy that. Go here. And let's see. Are lots of compile errors to fix. Also check your work with context 7. Sorry, I'll bring it back on screen here in just a second. I'm gonna wait for it to go and hit real quick. That way I can populate this key. Bum. Good news, there are no compile errors. I question you. Where is your... Let's see. Gotta find my way into my thing. Okay. Key has been populated. I do love this. Good news, there are no compile errors. Let me check the actual errors by building the project. Yeah, great. Thank you, Copilot. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. To verify there are no compile errors, you must actually need to compile. Let's see. I'm going to preemptively start typing. I have updated the... actually, we're just going to do this. Work with docs. Um, uh, we're going to stop it real quick and reprompt just to... I'm proud of it for going out and checking GitHub, but I strongly suspect it has lost its mind. There we go. Now we're actually getting responses back. Lovely. Previously, but now independent. Let me fix the code. Great. Go to town, buddy. Set it as a string that can be parsed. You seem to be struggling. Do I need to step in and help you? You seem to be struggling. I feel like I might need to step in and help you. But I also... Okay, so they have their own OBJ reader. Great. Great, thank you. I'm not actually confident you did the right thing. Did you even compile now? You claim to be compiling, but I don't trust you. Well, it launched. Load OBJ Helix. Let's see here. I want you copy full path. I should probably check to see what the heck that method is actually doing. Let's see. Let's actually step through this. Load this. There's my triangle object. Great. Okay. She clears the children, reads the object, creates materials, does the thingy. Material add. Hey, Society Dog. Happy New Year to you as well. Can see you hard on the code from the start of the year. Hoping all went well in the holidays. Yeah, it was. Most of it was pretty good. Lots of family. Okay, so zoom to viewport. Loaded, did the needful. Okay, so my question then is, now that that's loaded, what have you done here? We've got main light, ambient light, group model 3D source, model group 3D children. Is that what we were populating in our code behind? View model, model group children. View model, model group children. So it is populating the thingy. On rendered. See here, what did you put my on rendered method? Optional, add custom rendering logic here. Great, thanks Copilot. You've been so helpful. So bloody helpful. Why do I not trust a thing that you build? So under each of these object readers, this thing shows obsolete. What are you saying is the correct one? This type is obsolete. What is the obsolete attribute showing me? Nested class. Suggest using Helix tool. Let's just briefly take a gander here. How much did the Copilot make of the code project? Of this one, almost none of it so far, aside from the new stuff I let it play on. This is largely a sample project from. Let me grab it here. So we basically started here with this demo app, which looked to be a pretty cool demo, and it is, right? The problem I found is then the very first model I gave it, the performance of it was kind of crap. And it's kind of crap because it's doing the right thing, but it's doing it in a very naive way that doesn't scale out when you have hundreds of thousands of vertices in your model, which unfortunately I think I actually want to be able to have. And so then took a brief gander at this Helix project and trying to figure out how to make it work nicely. The problem being is the Helix project has a lot of nice WPF samples and not a lot of great Avalonia samples, which is making things slightly more interesting. And so Copilot hasn't written much of this yet. I turned it loose mostly as a way of trying to get through the docs quicker. Because all of these changes up here are me. So we're gonna just kind of preemptively stage the stuff that's me. Yeah, all of those are me and fine. That's Copilot. That's kind of Copilot and a lot of formatting, so we're gonna leave it out. And mostly Copilot. It's so nice that it decided to add comments in. Oh, so it actually injected into the load model button. If you load in an OBJ, it loads up right alongside of it. That's actually interesting. So if I go load model file and I feed it this, right, it's going to call into itself. I mean, that is interesting now to note. Maybe the model that I've grabbed is just garbage. Possible. Let's grab a better demo file, maybe, of something that is a little more real. I've worked a small bit with Family Tree and GraphX that also uses iGrout stuff to render. It can be a real pain to get to work. Yeah, I believe that. It's one of those unfortunate things that I wish there was more. It feels like I often run into problems where there's not great demos. Let's see. I want something that's mildly interesting. This is a texture checkerboard. About bunny. What is? I don't know what this is supposed to look like. How big is this model? Bunny should be big-ish. Like, you can't draw a reasonable bunny without doing a little bit of stuff. Close, and I would like to drag the bunny into this project. Let's see, bunny up here, and we're just gonna go here, and we're gonna do star.obj to make all of those things do. Yeah, reload the projects. Because I am curious what this thing does. I want to see a bunny. I haven't seen a bunny yet today. Let's make a bunny appear. Okay, so load model file, bunny, and I don't trust this code, but I trust the code above it to at least render something. Okay, code above, rendered a bunny. Great. Still don't have a bunny down below. Let's see, if we start spinning the bunny spins. Wee bunny. So again, the simplistic code does do a nice spin of the model. It's just, it doesn't scale out to hundreds of thousands of points. And again, I think I want hundreds of thousands of points. But there's a bunny. That looks a lot like a bunny. So, okay. So we have that. I load my model. Nothing is being played. Fix it, Copilot. Before I beat you to it, I am somewhat interested because this is, I'm wondering if this is a simple matter of a binding issue. Because this is going to model group.children. So it's expecting a property change on model group or children. I'm assuming this thing will watch. Oh. It's rotating with right click and arrow keys. Okay. Oh, I see. In your. Yeah. See, and that's the thing is I don't doubt it works in WPF. I really part of why we were going with Avalonia is because the target audience for this is STEM students. We don't actually know what kind of devices they may be running on. And so we were hoping for Mac and Windows support just to try to hit a larger swath of people. We can fall back to just WPF, maybe. But I'm also somewhat tempted to, like, again, look at something like Unity, which would, like, I don't doubt would work, but it feels like squashing a fly with a sledgehammer. Oh, exceeded retry count. Did I have something locked? Let me build. Build successful. I'm not entirely clear what you changed on the back end. Instance of abstract class cannot be created. Yeah, see, Copilot, I have a feeling you're an idiot. And by a feeling you're an idiot, I have a strong suspicion you're an idiot. Maybe I'm missing something. So the issue that I see, and I'll double check here, is the library, the things like this aren't available inside of, like, this doesn't exist in the Avalonia NuGet package, only in the WPF one. So that's the limitation that I'm seeing, and I think it's tied to this issue here. I think. Right? So back in 2020, his comment was, hey, it's based on DirectX, which only works under Windows. There's extra stuff going on here. And it looks like he started in on this new library to be able to go through and actually support different back-end rendering ones. You know, maybe I should put myself as a watch to at least know when things are going, because it looks like there's some active work inside of here to be able to build this out, but it's going to be, I suspect, a decent chunk before it's there. So it feels like the Avalonia support here is just not flushed out yet. But because he went to the effort of building and publishing Avalonia packages, right? For doing scene graphs. And that's the thing, is that's all I need is a scene graph, or at least I think that's all I need from my, I'm not a game engineer, so some of this stuff I'm stumbling my way through. But it does feel like there is a way. It does feel like there is a way to be able to do this if I understood how to render a scene graph properly inside of this. Oh, maybe this is all I'm missing. Because I don't need everything. I just want to put a scene out there and put a model in it and control the camera position. Like that's all I want. And it looks like this can handle it. Yeah, so it's doing the needful there. Let's see. Great. Great. You did a thing, Copilot. Do you even compile? Yeah, that doesn't compile. You moron. Just trying to look to see. I suspect that there will be something inside of this guy here. Elements 3D abstract. Element 3D. I bet you it's group element 3D. Element 3D core. I want to know what uses you. Let's see. That's not helpful. In this file, search for this symbol. Show me what is using this element 3D. Let's see. That guy there. That's WPF. Element 3D presenter. Yeah, something like this. Element 3D presenter. This feels like something that it will do the needful. Next viewport. Okay, I'm going to let Copilot just keep shooting itself in the foot. This is one of those areas where I would love, if I get that MCP server running, allowing Copilot to actually, did it not fix anything? Rebuild. Rebuild all successfully. Instance of abstract classes cannot be created. Copy details. I would like you to stop being stupid, Copilot. That's really what I would like. I think this guy looks very promising. I want to see if it actually fixed its error. I suspect the answer is no, but we'll let it try. Because I'm wondering if that 3D presenter is the way. Oh, well, it launched. Okay, try again. Debunny. Doesn't appear to load. Spinny Bunny. The model. I'm wondering if that is a possibility. It got rid of the model container. Well, of course it compiles now. You idiot. I fixed it. I deleted the code that wasn't working. So, okay, so it put the presenter in there. That's roughly what I expected. Do something with the code behind to populate it. Also somewhat what I would have expected. Let's see here. Does the thing, creates a group model. Sets the content presented in. Okay. Give it a try. Do you compile? Start with the obvious one. Well, it compiles and launches. Load model file. Show me the bunny. So disappointing. Let's see, society. I've started to refactor my Sims 4 database app that has the family tree and remaking it in Net8, thinking instead of GraphX go to Live Charts 2 canvas because the GraphX never good, and my old project was when I started coding. Those mass line of code I already had to reduce like 1/10 of what it was before. That's good. Honestly, I feel like in a refactor, when I'm able to start deleting code, it makes me feel like I'm on the right path. Like, because part of a refactor is now that you know what you know after building it, like hindsight's 2020, you now understand a lot more. Hopefully you can do the thing better. You may want to consider Net 10 over Net 8, just as a comment, because Net 8's going to be nearing end of life support soonish. I remember, isn't it 6 months out, I think? And usually if you're already targeting Net 8, going to Net 10 is simply a matter of changing your 8 to a 10, unless you have a dependency that limits you. So I guess you have till November. Is not up with it. So I will say, unless you have a dependency that isn't hip to Net 10 stuff, most of the time the modern Net 8, Net 9, Net 10, it's usually just a matter of changing the number. So I would start there, but you do have till November before it's out of support. So it's not that bad. Okay, so this guy did actually get set. This thing should have gotten read. The group model gets built up, reads the children, adds in the mesh model, sets the content here. Old app is net 4.8, so really old. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, if you're able to get to net 8, usually getting up to net 10 is fairly trivial. I mean, there are a handful of breaking changes, but most of the breaking changes in net 10 were APIs that were marked obsolete in prior versions, then being deleted. So unless you have obsolete warnings firing at your code, you're probably pretty safe. Builds it up, adds the mesh model. Like, it knows the bounds, it's got all the sizes. I mean, I assume so. Like, it's getting values in here. I am surprised there's only one object in objects, but I guess there's a geometry here. A mesh geometry 3D. What are you expecting here? Oh yeah, no problem. An element 3D. And a group model 3D. Like, it's just ripping through, assuming that it needs group element 3D, which is an implementation. Okay. Yeah, so much to keep track of as a hobby. It can be hard. So much out of date info all the time. 100%. That's actually one of the reasons why I like people who teach computer science at like the university level. I don't know that they can ever do a very efficient job at it, because me, as somebody who works in industry full time, it's hard to keep up. And somebody who's working as like a teacher, or like you doing it as a hobby, like, if I work in it full time and I struggle to keep up, somebody who has effectively a full time job doing something else I don't know how it's possible. It seems absolutely insane. And I think the AI stuff has only made the problem worse because it's now allowed things to come at you faster. So it's like, great, that's lovely. Okay. Well, this feels like something that's probably still worth playing with a little bit. I am still mildly interested in seeing about trying to get this renderer on the other one to work at a reasonable thing. And it may be, maybe I'll shoot this at Izzy and see what he says. It may be that the models we end up using aren't that complex, and it doesn't matter. Because maybe I'm getting too hung up on the idea that I need to support hundreds of thousands of vertices. And I don't know if that's actually true. Right? I don't know if that's actually true. Because I am curious, when I load this little bunny in, how big are you? Where's that render? Where's that on rendered? Nope, not that one. The other one. The real rendering. Load. Export, create model. Where is start animation? Oh, it's actually down inside of here. On animation tick. This guy. How exactly how big is this mesh? All right, so if I go here and I do anything that's going to trigger a resize, like what are we talking here? So the bunny is 2 orders of magnitude smaller than the benchy. So thousands of faces and thousands of vertices, right? Just counting the number of digits. The idea, I wish I need a, boom. Oh. One of these days I'll figure out how to catch it just perfectly. All right, so we have somewhere in the order of 4,000, we'll call it 5,000 faces, and 2,500 vertices. So it's like, it can do it, but again, it's not overly efficient, but it does certainly work. And I'm fairly confident I could muck with this code to change because it's spinning by just adding these transforms in and doing a rotation transform. Because that's literally all it's doing is taking this rotation matrix, throwing an X, Y, and Z on there, and you're off to the races. Like, that's all it's doing. Which is fine. I do find it interesting. It literally just increments. I thought there was a random bit on it, but maybe not. And it just rips through all of them and then re-renders it all. Can you bake it for the viewing stuff? Yeah, and that's the thing is I feel like I'm slowly getting around to this idea that I may end up having to build some of this myself. And frankly, this library works for small models. My only question is, am I going to have a small model? Because I like the idea of having something simple like this, because I would just fork this code, bring in the bits of this code that I need, because a big chunk of this library is all in this model loader writer bits. And frankly, because we're using this on just our models themselves, I could probably axe all of them, which means I'm down to half the classes that I need to work. Now, arguably, the interesting classes, but it feels like if I spent a little bit of time working on it, I could get the interaction bits that I want, which is effectively the same thing that the Helix library gives you for free with their canvas, which is why I'm somewhat tempted to spend a little bit more time poking at trying to get their scene renderer working properly. And maybe I'll poke around online and see if anyone else has one. Actually, maybe here's the search, right? If I go here and I just say, take this, there's the NuGet package for Avalonia. Let's just go to GitHub. And let's just search all of GitHub for usages of that library. That's not a comforting number. Okay, so we're going to immediately ignore anything that's in Helix Toolkit because those don't count. Because all of these are either in the library or in forks of the library. So I'd like to find one that's not in here. Here we got something that might actually... So ship hydro sim. Great. What are you doing with it? It sounds like something that might actually be a sample-y thing. 2 months ago, great. Anything, what are the odds you have a readme with something useful in it? Okay. What I'm really interested in seeing is where you end up using that control. So now that I found something that looks plausible, do you have a viewport 3DX anywhere in your code? Let's just start with that, right? Do you have one of these? You do not have a viewport, so that doesn't give me a lot of hope right out the gate. So, do you have anything that references, I don't know, you're an Avalonia project, let's hunt the namespace include. It could all be being done in code behind, so that may not land any hits either. Okay, so that's no... Yeah, search 3D canvas, see what comes up. Yeah. And then let's check maybe some common usings. So show me something that's like using Helix Toolkit. Anything using Helix Toolkit in here. I don't care what. Just show me something. Nothing using Helix Toolkit. That's not a good sign. How about just Helix Toolkit by itself? The only reference to it is in the... Okay, so moving on. You don't look like you're going to be a useful thing. Plan Helix 3D. What is this? Workflow launch 2. What is this? Oh, this is somebody's AI coding adventure. Okay, moving on. Let's see. Fork. NuGet catalog. Forking. This is not boding well that the only references tend to be inside of Helix Toolkit itself. Oh boy. Yep. Oh boy, this is... let's see, hide these extra files instead. Great. Let's get it down. Let's get it down even smaller. I'd like to not even have to scroll through them. Let's see. Oh, that's only per page. Oh, that's only just speeding up my scrolling speed. Okay. Oh, I guess I already looked at page 3. GitHub, it'd be really great if you Yeah, hide them. Glad that you collapsed them, but I'd really like to find any repo that doesn't end in /helix toolkit. And I have a feeling it is literally just forks. Okay, so that doesn't give me any hope whatsoever. I think we're going to try your suggestion, Society Dog, and hunt for Viewport 3DX. But given that I didn't get good hits on the NuGet package ID, I'm not real hopeful that this is going to net me anything better. If anything, I think I'm going to get false positives. Because I think I'm going to end up hitting things that are... Well, hold up. What do we have here? What do we have here? Okay. Take a little gander here. This looks to be WPF. Where I should just look for the app.xaml. The fact that this is app.xaml, yeah, WPF. Okay, that's kind of what I'm more afraid of, is that I'm going to land on a lot of things that look promising. Can I add in... I can probably add in file... let's see. File A. Okay, that... every single one of those are in there. So I'm going to go with the Helix stuff may not be ready for consumption in an Avalonia app. Let's see. Did I ever ask? Do you ever game anything? And if so, what? A little bit. So, ever since I had kids, most of the gaming that I've done has been limited to things with a pause button or things that I can get up and walk away from. It's gotten a little better as my kids have gotten older. For Christmas, I actually built a retro gaming box out of a Pi 5 that we got. And so a bunch of old retro games. So like Super Smash Brothers is a go-to with my son and I. So we do a bit of retro gaming stuff. On my PC, I will occasionally play. Like I like the Sniper Elite series. I mostly just play single player, and I usually turn off the Axis Invasion stuff because again, I like to be able to pause and walk away, which is a very convenient feature and doesn't work well in a lot of multiplayer stuff. So, but I at least enjoy doing that. But then I also do, like, I enjoy playing, like I'll do chess puzzles on chess.com fairly consistently. Just, again, it's convenient to be able to pause and walk away and do that kind of thing. And then occasionally I'll play a handful of like small mobile games that are, quick few minute type situations, so that it's not nearly as bad when it's only a couple minutes, and I again can still just walk away from them. That much is nice. Okay, well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to punt on this until I can get an answer from Izzy on how big we think these models might need to be, because this Canvas 3D might be good enough, and it may not be worth fighting with the Helix stuff if they aren't all the way there and ready to go. even though it looks like there might be something here. It just feels like there's a lot that's missing. And maybe I could find more on it. I might poke around outside of GitHub too and see if there's anything worth looking at. But spinning bunny, it makes me happy. It makes me happy. Okay, I think I am probably going to be zonking out here shortly, given that I was up past midnight for New Year's yesterday, and it's now past midnight again tonight. So yeah. Let's see, Society Hog, I'm sold that my first computer was a Commodore 64. I actually had to explain to my son yesterday what a Commodore 64 was, because the retro system had a pre-installed Commodore 64 game in it. He's like, what's that? Is it new? I'm like, no, son, it is not new. Nothing on this is new. Let's see. Take a look at Guild Wars 2. Base game is free. Oh, cool. I will definitely check it out. I do always go through and grab various things on like my Epic and Steam libraries. But it's one of those, given my free time, I've often not had enough to invest in gaming. So, but thank you everyone for coming out. Heisen, I appreciate all the questions and code snippets that you sent to me. That was very helpful tonight. With that, I will tell everybody happy coding. See y'all next time.